we were able to welcome virtually some people that we may not have been able to meet outside of that venue. And I'd like to go ahead and introduce them. So for those of you who are signed on, I'm sure that you're aware, these are coaches. Coaching is something that was new to me, but I connected with Charmin and I am so excited to share their work with you. So I just want to give you a little bit of quick background about them. Charmin started off as an engineer, as she mentioned, as although she's in software engineering, she was able to kind of bridge those technical skills with a gap that she saw in women's abilities and men's ability to harness their emotional intelligence to be their best selves. So she has really become a leader in her field. She is a certified coach, a professional certified coach for the International Coach Federation, which I think she mentioned earlier. And she has a bachelor's and master's degree in computer science. And she's also really involved in her professional organization as a president and a board member. And I am so excited to hear her wisdom and hear what she has to share with us. And she's also brought with her today Barbara Visser. And she also has an experience. Her business and communication experience is what launched her into coaching. She coaches primarily parents. She worked for Microsoft previously. She holds a designation as a certified professional coach, associate certified coach, OKR expert, and distinguished Toastmaster. Outside of that, her passions include supporting families during childbearing year through specialized coaching and education. These women have a wealth of knowledge to share with us today, and I am so excited to introduce them. So ladies, please take it away.
Thank you, Amy. And Barbara and I are so excited to be part of your events today. So it's an honor for us, truly. And yesterday I attended the sessions and I was inspired and it touched me to hear, Amy, from you and many other accomplished professionals in this field, and as they shared their career journey and what helped them to be where they are, what advices they got along the way. I saw the participants got so much from that session. So today, we are actually going to take it to the next level. We are going to share some industry research about how kind of like a disparity is there in the workplace. And then I will share story of my client who went through coaching and addressed some of the challenges for herself. So basically, we are going to help you to connect the dots and make it yours. The advices, the suggestions you got yesterday, you will be able to customize them for yourself. And we will show you a coaching session so that you can see what happens inside a session. And you know that you have the opportunity to set up your call with a certified coach. And along the way, we will pause deliberately. We will ask you a question. You will think about it, and then you will share your response with us on the chat, or if you prefer, you can write it privately. So that's the process that we want you to go through with us so that you make the best use of this time you are with us. I know you had a long day already and you came here. That already says that you are committed to make something better in your life, in your career, right? So I am going to share a story of this client of mine who is now about 37-year-old, very talented engineer and a mother of 2 young children with a husband who is also very busy with his work. And all along, she has been a hyperachiever and she has been independent. And unfortunately, around this time of her career, she is noticing, my goodness, life has become over busy. There is no room to breathe. And she feels underperformed because always she's chasing after things. It's never done. The list keeps growing. That's not the life she signed up for. And I'm sure many of you can resonate with this person today that I'm talking about?
You know, Charmin, I see myself reflected in this story, and it's a powerful example of all the complex things that add up to being not where we want to be. We will pause here for just a second. I'm going to put a question into the chat. Here's what I'd love you to think about and then reflect. We'll just take 30 seconds. What about this story set up right now is resonating most with you? What about this example story is resonating most for you right now?
While people are thinking and sharing their response, there was a time that was my story too. And I was quite disappointed. I wanted all these things in my life, but I never thought this will look like this. This will feel like this. Yeah, I can see that some answers are coming. My to-do list is never ending. Yeah, multitasking, getting busy, not feeling good enough. Yeah, it's
Always playing catch up. Yes.
always catch up. And uh, I know this is not a happy place for someone whose whole life is being known as achiever, being known as smart. That's why you all came to this field. There is something extraordinary about it while growing up, right? So we will, Barbara and I will go through this story, how she managed some of these challenges. And of course, as a coach, I had to help her, but this is her journey. And just to make it more tangible or easy to follow for you, there are 3 points we'll cover. One is, where did she start? And some self-care that we often ignore for ourselves. And point number 2 would be how she got awareness about her unique set of strengths so that she could bring those forward and share with her team and everyone else. And point number 3 would be how she built a support network around her. And so through stories, hopefully it will make sense for you. And of course, you'll get some of the questions along the way.
Thanks for setting that up, Charmin. You know, when I hear that story, I think about myself, my own experience. It makes me feel really alone. So already looking at the chat, I can tell I'm not alone. But what do we know about how widespread this issue is?
Yeah, I looked at some research data and I found Deloitte, Cornell University, McKinsey, Lenin. Some of the research came from, the data I collected came from these reputed organizations. And see for yourself, 61% of employees cover their identities at work. They fear they will be discriminated if they share their whole identities. And this research happened maybe 5-6 years ago. Things are not much better even today. Motherhood, it's a gift, right? But at the same time, there is a common perception that if I show up as a mother, especially for young kids, I'll be seen as someone who is not serious about my work, not devoted enough. And again, another research says that is this notion that I cannot bring my whole self to work is a predictor that these people will eventually leave their career or at least downshift. And that's a loss for all of us. As Chloe said, engineers build the world. What if women start leaving? And today on LinkedIn, I saw that a big number, it's a 33 years low right now, women in the workplace in general. And I'm sure STEM field is affected much more than many others. So the data is giving us a signal. Things are not where we want it to be.
Yes, I'm looking at this data. It reflects conversations that I have with my clients who cross all sorts of different industries. So I don't think it's unique to any one field. I'm wondering about what we can do to help create a shift.
Definitely. That's where we are talking about, not just us, many industry leaders. So results already are there. The business case of bringing our whole self to our workplace and everywhere else. Think about it. When you're bringing your whole self and your coworkers are bringing their whole selves, you see them as human, right? And you connect with them better. You see their strengths and their not so strong sides, and of course, their families. So when you are doing teamwork, collaboration, it comes more naturally. You feel the empathy for your coworkers and how beautiful that looks like when you have that in your teams, in your workplace. And just imagine, Amy was telling yesterday that is in her early life, the biggest mistake was her, like she had to work so hard to separate the work and the personal self. That's the learning she shared with us. And when you don't have to work hard to separate that, it frees up your head space. And here we are, knowledge workers. We work with our head, with our innovation and creativity. And when we have that space freed up, imagine how much impact we can create for our teams, for the employers, and for everyone. Everyone wins, right?
That is beautiful. So that connects me to experiencing more a sense of ease and flow and just energy and more confidence. It is really an opener for confidence for me. So we'll pause again for a moment of reflection. And my question for the audience is, what becomes possible when you bring your fuller self to work? What becomes possible when you bring your fuller self to work? So we'll pause to have you reflect and put into the chat, and I'm going to stop sharing so we can just keep talking.
I see Chloe's response already, breaking stereotypes. Yeah, we are so much more than those stereotypes. Close their authentic relationships with team members, self-growth, feeling whole, better team collaboration. Yeah, the possibilities are unlimited. So, Barbara, is it a good time
Yeah.
for us to
So
continue?
I'd love you to keep telling us your story. How did this client in this what felt like a completely unsustainable situation, where did she start?
Great question. And you know, there are so many books, so many podcasts, so many advices, right? TED Talks, you name it. But think, when I'm overwhelmed, I cannot really think straight. And how can I go read or listen and then make it the 1 or 2 points that is applicable for my life? That's virtually impossible, right? So I asked this woman, Nabila, so what is one thing that would help you right now? And I paused. I didn't know the answer. And she said, you know, Charmin, if I could just have 30 minutes for me, that's all. That's all I would want right now. I cannot think something bigger. And that's when she started thinking about it. Okay, my goal is to make 30 minutes me time for me. And I gave her the challenge. We brainstormed. So she came up with, okay, maybe after work, I'll go for a walk or a jog. I'll just put headphones, my music, my favorite music on. That's all I want from my husband, that he can take care of the kids and I will go do the jog. And she did. So after a week or so, we talked again and she said, I'm feeling so much lighter. My mood
Mm.
is elevated. And not only my family noticing that, at work, I'm feeling more creative. I even came up with a new idea recently. I could see on her face even that she was feeling much happier, much productive. And it did just that 30 minutes me time, the walk outside, that created this result.
It sounds like she started with something small and really built herself into the priority list with the self-care and creating that one
Yeah.
bit of time. What else? What happened next?
Yeah. Let me tell you one more thing, that
Mm.
is, we, especially women, are master in depriving ourselves. We think everyone wants us to serve them, to do our duties, which is kind of true, but we even impose it more. We keep on going for others, for our work, for our children, for our family, and we feel like this is selfish if I take a breather. And that's a common tendency across the world. I come from the other side of the world, so I can tell from my network at least. And this is one perspective I recently saw, um, that think about, you are your business tool. You are the tool for the business you are in, right? If you have a machinery, if you have a business asset, would you not take care of that?
It seems so common sense when it's outside of
Yes,
yourself.
yes. To take care of the asset that gives you the further business when you take care of this machinery. So it's a responsibility. It's not indulgence. It's a
Mm.
responsibility that we take care of our mind, body, and spirit. And that's the shift. That doesn't happen overnight, of course. And that's why sometimes a neutral perspective, in this case, a coach's perspective, helped her to feel not so much guilt about the time she was taking away from her family. So let me tell you a little more on how she made it more sustainable for her. So she started with that 30 minutes a day, but over the years, she started realizing like when she needs to take a break, that small micro break. During the midday, she goes out for 10, 15 minutes. This gives her so much energy boost. The afternoon is more productive. She feels more energized in the afternoons. And these days, she tells me she does some of the one-on-one conversation on phone while she walks outside.
Mm.
So she's becoming very creative about taking those micro breaks. And these days, she doesn't feel that much barrier to create that, because she kind of like developed that mindset that this is so important. So she looks out for opportunities. When
Mm.
can she do that? And today, for our audience, I would give one tip. Just take maybe 10 seconds, 15 seconds.
Mm.
Close your eyes, put your hands on your navel area, and just breathe slowly. And notice that your stomach moves up and down with every breath. And take maybe one or two more. What is the difference, do you notice right now? Less tension, more relaxed, calmness. Yes. Think about during the day when you have those stressful meetings or conversation with some of the guys in the construction site. If you could take this 30 seconds for yourself, how much more of yourself can you bring?
That is amazingly accessible. When I was thinking, ooh, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I thought, I don't even know if I can get there, but 30 seconds, I can commit. It's like that micro action that then creates space, and maybe I can get to the 10 or 15 minutes. Beautiful.
Yeah, we never get to, like, it's very hard to get 10, 15 minutes like that, but three breaths, totally doable. Yeah. So I'm going to the next point. I know, Barbara, sure. You're like, Charmin, when are you going to tell about that? So after a few months, she became a little more back to herself, more centered, more relaxed. And then we started talking about something more. So one thing she noticed, I know many of you will notice, that is, even though you are engineers, you are those construction professionals, you will see that is some of your colleagues are good at one thing. You are good at one thing, and it's not, the one thing is not the same. She noticed that too. For her, seeing things end to end for the customers, seeing customers' issues, those came very easily. And she was very kind of intuitive in there. Even during the design process, she could find a gap. Hey, there is a gap that we want to fix, because otherwise it will be a broken scenario. Whereas there are other colleagues who were more into like going deep in one module and making sure all the nitty-gritty things work. So one day she brought it up, that is, hey, how can I develop that? And hearing her stories from her everyday meetings and challenges, I started noticing that her strengths are more into the breadth than sitting and going deep on one particular thing. And she was thinking like, wow, I'm not good enough, because I'm not as good as David or the other guy that can go and fix some of the things going deep. So we did a strength inventory for her. And she actually, this is a reflection process. She went through the projects where she contributed, that she got some of the recognition from her superiors. And it came up that is, since she's more artsy, an engineer with some artsy side, of course, many women has those kind of traits, that actually gave her this unique abilities that she can bridge the gap that many hardcore engineers didn't see that. So that gave her some renewed confidence on her own abilities. And after that, she started sharing those, not only with me, with her team, with her manager, and she signed up for projects for the tasks that there she can exercise her own strengths. That gave her more visibility inside the team, cross-team collaboration. She was asked to go to work with another team because she showed that she's good with this kind of cross-team work. Her like 3-level up managers gave her a award saying, Nabila, you are a multiplier. Multiplier,
So
think about
real
that.
real
Yes.
opportunity, career
Yeah.
growth, because she chose to stop limiting herself and stop trying to fit into the mold of what she was observing, and instead bringing these two sides that might not fit together. She didn't see them in anyone else. They were her unique strengths and values. I'm remembering what Chloe's presentation was talking about, that, you know, overcoming the imposter syndrome and that confidence that ties to really living in your unique strengths.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. And when you know, like, I'm good at this, you can actually say that loud and people starts respecting you. She knows what she is good at, right? So this is again, it's a muscle building exercise. It doesn't happen just going to the gym one day. You have to keep working on yourself. You have to practice saying out loud, that is, this is what I'm good at. I want this kind of opportunities, and then go do that. It feels a little bit clunky at the beginning, and especially many of us, including myself, we feel it's bragging, saying I'm good at this. And yesterday's thing, I think Natasha was sharing that not everything you will enjoy. So pay attention. What gives you that joy? And joy is a signal that I'm really good at that. And it doesn't mean that is you are like, you have nothing to learn. It's always learning, but naturally good at something and practicing to learn more, that's what gives mastery. That's what makes you good to great.
Beautiful. So your client created some space, practiced self-care, gained this deeper awareness of her strengths and bringing that in. What were other layers that she needed to bring in? Were there resources that she reached for that helped her in the next steps?
Yes, that brings our final point that I want to share. That is, we are talented, we are smart, no question about it, hands down. Ladies, everyone own it, please.
Look at this room, right?
Yeah, yeah. And here is a false notion or a limiting belief. We think, since I'm smart, since I'm hyperachiever, I can do it myself alone. I don't need anyone. Incorrect. I wish I could use a Kahoot now. Correct. So we try to go by ourselves. As if like you're driving a car in a very rugged terrain with low tire pressure. You keep on moving like this, and we think that's the resilience I'm showing, that is, I can do it. No, you are in the verge of burnout. That's what happens when you try to do everything by yourself. Give yourself permission. I'm telling you, but that's what Nabila and I had the conversation. That is, who do you ask for help? And she was like, why? I can do it. It's just that I need to push myself a little more. So one day I was listening to her, and something really stressful happened at work, and she wanted to talk to me about that. And her voice was like so much tired, and I could sense that even hearing her voice. So I asked, like, hey, you sound quite stressed. And she was surprised that I could hear that. So I was like, playfully, I said, okay, you like quantitative analysis, right? So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1, I'm totally happy, joyful. 10, I cannot take it anymore. Where are you? Dead silence. She came back saying, I think 8.5. 8.5? You are in the red zone, girl. You need to stop here. So even when she admitted that 8.5, she was like, oh my goodness, I didn't notice. I've been wearing this burden for so long. No wonder I'm feeling tired, even though I'm doing my walks and going to the breaks and all those things, right? Yeah, asking for help is not a weakness, right? Yeah, but it takes time to learn. It takes time to notice, hey, I'm that frog in a boiling pot. I am close to the high temperature that will kill me. So that's the point. One time, we actually talked that she needs a mental health day off. In our organization, they call it that it's a mental health day off, not a sick day, because you're not physically sick, but you are mentally feeling that burden. So she had to take the day off after speaking with me, and then we spoke after that 1 day break she took. That gave her some awareness. She cannot just suck it up. Growing up, that's the message we get.
Right.
You should be
Because we're tough and we're smart.
Yeah.
So suck it up. Yeah. That is a
Suck it
tape
up.
that plays.
Yes. And we independently, we tell that to ourselves these days. So some of the techniques that she started using, when some days, some weeks, it's crunch time at work. So she informs her husband that she will be busy with work so that he knows to take care of this side. And of course, the husband is also super busy, right? So she has a babysitter, and sometimes she calls the babysitter on a Saturday too, because she needs her rest on a Saturday, right? So that kind of thing helps her in the personal side, in the family front. She has a mentor. She has a therapist. I mean, all these things happened over the years, but now she has this support system around her. There was one day, her therapist, her mentor, and me, all three spoke to her in different times. She had to get all the advices she could on that day. But hopefully that's not always happen, but that shows her support team that she built. And other thing, okay, I got a question. How do you take a mental health day off without looking at negative on your employer? So let me answer that. For her company, they call it publicly. So now they have the vocabulary that I can take a day off without being physically sick, like I do not have a high temperature. How can I take a day off? But luckily in their company, it's a more appropriate way of saying. And of course, this is if you say you're sick, that should be good enough. You don't have to tell your boss or employer. Everyone has some, I think at Microsoft, we had 2 weeks of sick leave. So we could take it anytime. So you find what's the benefits, and you can call a sick day for when you are feeling totally overwhelmed. That's a sign you are coming down with something, which doesn't have to be fever or like a broken bone or anything. So that's the message, I think. Does this help, Melissa? So, okay. So talking about the support system, at some point I said, does your manager know that you are running 8.5?
What a great question.
Of course he doesn't. He is a guy and he doesn't have small children. So for him, it's very hard to connect with someone like this woman that is how much she is managing. So one time I had to coach her to gain the confidence to get the vocabulary right to have that conversation with her manager. And luckily, he said, "Why didn't you tell me before?"
Mm.
I'm sure like not all manager would be that sensitive to really respond right away, but it has to be, you have to take that first step. And sometimes you might not take the step thinking, okay, that will affect my performance, right? When performance review comes, they will think, okay, she's not good enough. Well, systemic change is, of course, needed. I hope the workplace is learning that these are important, but we need to do our part while that thing is happening because it takes time to make systemic changes. We need to start sharing that. And of course, uh, as a coach, I had to coach her what's the appropriate way of sharing those. You cannot just like tell your manager, hey, I'm out, I cannot take it anymore. Then he will be puzzled too. You need to calm down, into kind of collect yourself, make it a constructive conversation.
Mm.
That is, hey, I'm noticing this is happening for me. And I check the temperature in my team. There are many other that are feeling that way. So that were her words, but taking the time, having a mentor or a coach to help you craft that message helps.
Mm. Beautiful. So self-care, in it for the marathon, building a system of support. It's been great to hear how you and this person interacted over the course of a coaching engagement. It sounds like you were really a partner who saw her as the expert in her own life and then empowered her to like deepen her awareness and take some really intentional action along the way. So we're going to pause here for our final reflection of this time frame, and we're going to shift into our next part of the agenda. So to anchor all of our learning, the question that I'll put into the chat is to take a minute to reflect and write down one or two key takeaways for yourself from what we've heard thus far. So one or two takeaways. And as those are going into chat, Charmin, I'm going to reload our deck.
Mm-hmm.
You guys like me to take you guys off the spotlight so that you can present? All right.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you, Miriam. Yeah.
And
There's
then-
always ways to carve out personal time, create self-care and support team. Yeah. I need to figure out what my 30 minutes are. Yeah, right. If 30 minutes is too much, try with 20 minutes. You can always start somewhere. It's not the quantity, it's the quality.
I'm glad to see this theme around the support system resonating with people.
Yeah. Breathe for 30 seconds and meditate. Yeah. And maybe it could be a hobby. I do crochet, and crochet is a good way to, calm me down and get me out of the work thing in my mind.
That's really interesting. I was thinking, what am I doing? You know, one thing I wanted to do, I think I was 20 when I wanted to try something for the first time, and the first time it didn't work. And because I had all those scripts in my head, I'm like, well, I guess it didn't work, so I'm not going to do it anymore. I wanted to kayak. And the first time I tried, there was a rainstorm with thunder and lightning. And so we couldn't go on the lake. And I just thought, well, I guess it wasn't meant to be. I waited 25 more years before I went back on the water to try this thing that now really feeds me. It really nourishes my energy and my spirit. And so now I carve out time for this activity. And I think, I missed it for so many years. But without looking back with, feeling badly about it, I'm just so glad I get to do it now. But I wouldn't wait if I could do it over again. I would not wait.
Yeah. And it begins with being kind to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
As women, kindness comes naturally for many of us, but this is one thing kind of disconnect. First order of business is ourselves, self-compassion, being kind. Last year, I had to put a sticky note on my monitor, be kind to self. Me, the coach, who should know it already.
Reminders from all angles.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much for sharing this really honest story of your experience with this one person. It's brought so many lessons to light for all of us. I want to go to a slide where we're going to quickly confirm, because we haven't had an official definition of what is coaching not. And then that will tee it up, Charmin, for you to introduce us to the demo coaching session that you did.
Yeah. So quickly, coach is a partner. A coach creates a safe place for you to sort out your thoughts, your dilemmas, your concerns. And then the coach helps you to come up with the answers for yourself. Because you know your life. We cannot just give you cookie cutter advice. And that's how you make it yours and make sustainable changes. The coach is a champion, a cheerleader for you, and a trusted advisor. So that's all I will say for tonight. And we'll show you the coaching video. Chloe and me did this coaching session. So hopefully that will answer some of the questions for you. Okay.
Great. And then while you get that set up, after we watch the demonstration coaching time, what we'll do is we'll bring Chloe and myself and Charmin up, and we'll all three do a debrief, and then we'll open it up for general Q&A as we get towards the end. All right. Thanks,
Sounds
Charmin.
good. Yeah. So can everyone see my screen where two heads are showing, Chloe and Charmin? Barbara?
Yes.
I can see that.
Okay. And give me a sound check. I would play for a second.
Well, something
Yes,
I'm really
I can hear.
Okay, good. Thank you. Let me restart. Okay. Enjoy. Have popcorn and enjoy the 16 minutes show.
something I'm really navigating right now in my career is kind of doing well on projects, which is obviously a good thing, and then having supervisors and my job kind of throwing me into the middle of really big and more complicated and challenging jobs. And I guess I'm navigating like the skills of learning on the fly and learning during that job, as well as I guess touches of imposter syndrome and not feeling ready to be there, and like someone else with more knowledge should be the one doing it, basically.
You are getting the opportunities to do more, to do higher skilled work, and inside you are like, am I ready? Maybe there are other people who are better at it, and the imposter syndrome kicking in. Yeah. What a fun experience.
Yeah.
So if we spend some time, maybe 15-ish minutes today, what part of this you want to kind of explore together?
I guess the sense of imposter syndrome, and also the navigating of being honest with yourself and others that you have more to learn and you want to learn these skills, but also being confident in a sense of you belong to be the person there, right? Like navigating, walking that line where you're not saying, I'm not supposed to be here, but here I am, but also not being the person who acts like they know everything when they really don't.
I'm already seeing there is a range. One is, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't belong here. And
Yeah.
here is like, yeah, I'm the one who knows everything.
Exactly.
So engineers likes to measure things, right?
Yeah.
So if this is a scale for you, where are you now at this time?
I feel like I go back and forth. So I think that's where I'm kind of having the internal thought process of where I want to be, where I want to be more dead center, where I can learn from people and make and be honest and know that some things I'm just not going to know. Whereas I still deserve to be the person making those decisions and being a part of those projects. But I feel like sometimes I go back and forth. Sometimes I'm that person who is very, very like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. I need help. I need someone else to tell me what to do. And then sometimes I internally recognize that and I kind of overcompensate too much. Like, oh, I know everything. And then in my head, I'm like, oh crap, I don't know what I'm doing, So
Yeah.
finding that internal balance of being right in the middle and not overcompensating.
Yeah. One is like too open, like the mess, like that. And the other is the overcompensation. That's kind of like a little bit fake. You're putting a fake confidence,
Exactly.
but inside you are not really feeling that. It's kind of the show. Even though you said I want to be in the middle, it sounds like you want to be a little bit kind of integrate them in a more authentic way. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I definitely want to be able to walk both roles in a sense and like have both parts of me help me, if that makes sense.
Like accepting those two and showing up as such, sounds like. By end of our conversation, what would that look like if you could find a way to show up like that? How would you know that is, yeah, I found that?
I think it would look like being able to be confident in the areas I don't know. And that sounds kind of counterintuitive, to be confident in something you don't know, but being confident that I deserve, like I'm capable of being where I am, but that I can still learn and I can be confident in saying I still need to learn and asking for that help and that knowledge, basically.
Confident in not knowing.
Yeah, exactly, which sounds weird.
Yeah.
That's how it feels like.
Yeah,
Whoa,
yeah.
that's how it feels like, in a sense of what that confidence is. Because I feel like people always talk about imposter syndrome, and they talk about that to get over imposter syndrome, you just have to be completely confident. But especially in a field like engineering and construction, that's never going to happen, because you're never going to know everything. And there's always going to be situations where you're lost. So I don't necessarily believe that that's the imposter syndrome, like, right?
Now the engineer in you is talking. In engineering, nobody could know everything. How do they figure things out then?
Well, collaboration definitely with different engineers that do know different things, right? And have more experience, as well as obviously research books, manuals, all those different things.
Yeah. Sounds like
Yeah.
you just described a growth mindset, the buzz these days. But as engineer, you know, this is the process. There is no like, I know everything. There is no, I do not know nothing. So what's the delta that will help you to embrace this mindset more?
I think I just like, I need to embrace the fact that you can't know everything, and that's okay.
Mhm.
And that just because something comes up that I don't know the answer doesn't mean I don't deserve to be where I am. And that I think I need to realize like part of the positives and part of the reasons you can be a good engineer is being able to go find those answers and not letting your ego get in the way. Right? Like going to find those answers and being good at collaborating and getting everyone involved, like that's part of engineering. Whereas I feel like sometimes we're taught to think engineering is just about having all the answers in your brain and fixing things.
There is already a conflicting definition of what good engineering looks like. What is one thing that would help you to embrace that engineering process more?
I don't know. I guess embracing the engineering process. I think it's just kind of getting out of your head, and because honestly, like as this conversation goes, like obviously I know deep down the ideas of that engineering's not knowing everything and that we still need to learn and that you can't know everything. But it's like that external pressure of, you know, being on a construction site or being with other engineers who are looking to you and expect you to know. And if you don't, you feel like there's a level of like disrespect from others if you don't know. I think that it's the external pressure, not necessarily. I think I've gotten over the internal pressure in a sense. Like I think I'm there to understand internally, but it's externally that I'm still struggling to not let that get me down, I guess.
Assumption or your experience says that when someone is asking something, unless you say, this is the answer, their respect will be less for you.
Less, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think there's also a level of that of being a young female engineer as well, because we as women in the field feel like we have so much more weight on our shoulders to prove that we belong there. So I think that adds like an extra dimension to it in a way.
Yeah. That's a heavy burden.
You know, because it's like you already feel like you're walking on there and like guys are looking at you that you don't belong, right? So you want to prove to them that you belong. And it feels like the second you give them any ounce of like, oh, she doesn't know what she's doing, then you've proved them right. So it's like a burden of making sure that you show you belong there.
Here is two parallel things I'm noticing. One is really embracing what a good engineering process is. And there is this another thread that is socially you need to prove by knowing, by giving the answer. So between these two norms, which one would get you closer to what you want?
Breaking down the assumption that you have something to prove. Definitely. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
So from your face and eyes, it seems like you got something inside you. So what are you noticing as you just kind of like, I saw something blinked in your eyes?
I think I'm kind of realizing, whereas I've thought about this issue before and I've thought of it as like a balance of the internal and external, but as I'm talking, I realize like the internal, I don't think is an issue for me anymore. I think I truly understand like what makes a good engineer and that I do belong and all those things. And it's like purely external. It's like purely making people understand and carrying that burden of, because I'm also very big on like helping the next generation as well. And I feel like sometimes I internalize like, in order for us to change and for more women to get into STEM and everything, like it's our duty to like show that we belong so that the next generation doesn't have to go through the same thing. But that's kind of a lot.
Yeah, yeah, shake it off. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's purely like an external weight that I have maybe manufactured in some ways.
Yeah. Wow. What an insight. Just do a quick check-in with your just body. You said, I want to get out of my head. So let's get out of that head. Check in with your heart, with your gut, with your shoulders. What are you noticing as you are talking about getting that extra burden?
Feel a little more like stress relief in a way. I feel like I get I've had a lot of like projects lately that have brought stress. So I guess thinking about it in that way kind of relieves a little bit of that stress, and just being able to focus on the engineering instead of focusing on the external factors feels good.
Yeah, feels good. Where in your body you feel that good?
I think like my mind, I feel like my mind is always going a million miles per minute thinking about 700 things. And that's where my stress comes from. And so I think a good thing to do is just to focus. I'm not good at focusing in on like, what's the task at hand? Let me just do that instead of thinking about the other 17 things that I should be thinking about. So just being really mindful of one thing right now has kind of like relieved my mind a little bit.
Oh. I'm noticing that too. Yeah, focusing on one thing, following that engineering process. Based on this insight, how will you remind yourself when you are in that construction site?
I'll just remind myself that you can't know everything, and there's a way to be like, you know what, I'm going to need to look into this, and that's okay. And at the end of the day, just reminding myself, like, if they want to form an opinion based on something dumb, then that's on them and not on me.
Let them carry that burden.
Yeah, exactly. Let them do what they want to do with that.
So when you want to apply this,
going to the field tomorrow, so I guess I'll try to apply it tomorrow.
Wonderful. I'm looking forward to how it goes for you. So you wanted to find a solution for your imposter syndrome and finding a balance. So where are we now?
I feel like honestly, you never get rid of imposter syndrome, right? It's always creeping in there, but I think just when I feel it happening, not that it won't happen or I'll get rid of it, but when I feel it happening, just taking the second to remind myself of this and remind myself that it's okay to need help, or it's okay to have to like take a minute to figure it out and not have the answer at that split second. And hopefully that'll help it dissipate at the moment.
And can I suggest one more thing on that? Even in a regular day, if you could remind yourself maybe twice a day or three times a day, that might give you more muscle memory, so that when you are in that field with those guys, it will be more natural for you to remind, like,
Definitely. I do agree with that. Making sure that you're thinking about it always, not just when you have to.
Yes, yes. It's like building those muscles
Yeah.
as an athlete. Okay, wonderful.
Exactly.
Is this a good time for us to close this session?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Hopefully, everyone was able to follow through. Where is Chloe? Is Chloe still here with us?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Hey. Is it a good time to reflect on the session?
It's a great time.
Yeah. What do you want to share with us about the session or something you followed through afterwards?
I think the biggest thing for the session for me was, so I had never done coaching before at all. I'd heard about it. It's on social media a lot, STEM coaches, career coaching, but I had never done it. So it was kind of a cool experience to do it for the first time in this setting. I opened my eyes to what coaching is. I guess in some ways I kind of always saw it as like, oh, you're going to bring your problems and they're going to tell you what you need to do. And that never like resonated with me, but I feel like it's more like of a guide rather than a coach telling you what to do. Some of these things are already like in you. You just have to, like, you need help bringing them out.
Yeah, you just defined coaching for ICF for us. We listen deeply. That's what I did during the session. I reflected what I heard and I asked back you the question. And there's times you paused, you thought, and then you came up with an answer, and then we navigated further. Yeah, yeah. And I'm curious, how did you apply last week, as you said you would?
Been in the field quite a few times since last week. I had to deal actually twice with someone who's been an issue in the past. So I was firm and didn't let, sometimes in the past, the way he has treated others has made me go turtle and just be over it. But the session helped me like look within and really continue to stand my ground and get what I needed to get done without letting someone get in my head.
How did it feel?
Good, because he annoys me. No, but it was good. I mean, it was definitely a hurdle to get over from past experiences.
Yeah, yeah. If you could get continued support from a coach, how would that feel for you?
I think it's great because I feel like we kind of talked about it in the session, was sometimes my issue is not necessarily that I don't have the answers, but it's that I have the internal struggle and I don't have I feel like coaching was really good because you have someone there that's like an ally and is throwing stuff back at you and is internalizing it. Whereas when we're having those internal battles with ourselves, we can start to let the imposter syndrome creep in, let ourselves be like, this is stupid. Why am I spending so much time thinking about this? And just kind of brush it off. And then it resurfaces later again. So to have someone that's saying like, okay, it's okay to think about this and it's okay to, want to work through this is something that I have an issue with being inside of my own head. So having that external help is definitely a plus.
Wonderful. So glad to be partnering with you. And as you described, ICF coaching, the coaching we practice is all about partnership. We are equal. We know how to listen, how to attend person and see themselves as whole, resourceful, capable, and creative, because you are the expert of your life. All I'm doing is facilitating that process for you. And hopefully many of you will take the opportunity of one-on-one coaching on a Saturday and Monday.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chloe, to be the brave one.
Yes.
No
So
problem.
We've got a couple of minutes for some Q&A. I'm going to put a resources slide up here.
Mhm.
The link to sign up for coaching is in the chat. And I wanted to call out the comment from Clint that described how coaching gets you where you need to go faster. It's an
Yeah.
accelerant. Having that external thought partner, even if it's just a sounding board, it accelerates your progress. And when we're all stretched for time and resources, what a value add that can bring. So
Yeah.
if you want to put questions in the chat or go off mute to ask Charmin, myself, Chloe, Amy, anyone a question, feel free.
And thank you. Questions, we are collecting questions, please. And we have this fun exercise with the Jamboard. Should we do it now or wait?
Let's see if there are any questions first to continue the dialogue, and then we'll, but you never know where we might go with that, and then we'll have our final exercise.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Teeb, if I can jump in really quickly, you know, mentorship and therapist relationships are both very personal, and it seems like that's the same with coaching. What's your advice on finding a coach that really fits where you're at from your professional perspective? How do you advise people to kind of find that fit?
Very good question. So it is very personal. It's a chemistry. Not every coach is for everyone. I say, so there is a link where you can find ICF credentialed coaches, and you should interview 2 or 3 coaches so that you get to taste each of them and decide who would be a better fit for you. And of course, get some recommendations from your network. That always is a good place to be. Yeah.
And I would say also, sometimes I want a thought partner, a coach who is really like me in the moment, and because it feels safe and comfortable. And sometimes where I get the most value is with someone who's very different than I am. So I have learned to seek out some coaches, and clients have learned to seek me out when sometimes it doesn't on the surface look like we have anything in common, because that diversity of thought can really lead to some interesting insights and actions. And then when I'm not up for that personally, it's like I just need kind of a more nurturing energy. That's sort of the vibe I give off. That's you know, I feel like sometimes the right people just find each other, but checking in, having that just kind of a discovery call, an initial conversation, and then comparing notes for yourself, like to see what you need most in that season.
Exactly. Thank you. And we will share these resources via email, the email recap. So you will get the hot links on the email.
Yeah, great. Are there any other questions or comments? I'm going to pull up the Jamboard link so we can also have that and shift the conversation there as well.
Yeah. And another thing is, if you select a coach and then after a few sessions, you started noticing, nah, every time there is a coaching session on my calendar, I'm not feeling drawn to it. That's a sign it's not going well. So have that conversation with your coach that is, hey, we need to see other people. And it is actually in my contract, and the other coaches I know, they have it up front. If it doesn't work, we just tell each other, and it's okay to break that agreement.
Mhm. We used Kahoots earlier today. Here's a quick slide view of what you'll see when you open the Jamboard link that I put into chat. It's a quick, fun way that you can click on the Post-it note symbol off to the left-hand navigation and add your thoughts on the question, what one new idea from today will you try? So we've got some samples out there. You'll be looking at your own instance on your internet browser. And so I'm going to stop the share, but if you've not seen Jamboard, this is what it looks like. So what one new idea from today will you go experiment with tomorrow, this next week?
Yeah, the first one is already there, a coaching session.
Fabulous.
Let me delete the sample ideas. There is more room. Mm-hmm. Breathe throughout the day. Actually, we all breathe throughout the day, otherwise we'll be dead soon. It's a mindful breath. That makes a difference. A client of mine took that as a homework or a follow-up, and then when we met again, she said, I did the breathing but didn't help.
Oh.
So I asked, like, how did you did the breathing? He said, when I was checking email, I did the breathing. Remember, mindful. Mm-hmm. Support system, 30 seconds breathing, take 15 minutes away, embrace growth, look into coaches, yay, create support system, signed up for the coaching session, wonderful. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to share my screen so that everyone can see what the board looks like so far.
Yep, thank you. Making sure my mental health is okay. Yeah. You know, I remember those days. I was pregnant, and some days I didn't want to move, and still I didn't give myself permission to take a day off. My manager was super supportive, only that I didn't think it's the right thing to take the day off because there is no temperature. I should be fine. And one day the nurse, when I went for a checkup, the nurse said, you are pregnant. You deserve the time off. You deserve to pamper yourself.
Hey, Sherman, as I'm seeing some of these, it occurs to me that there was an example you shared while we were preparing for today with this metaphor of an engine, of a machine engine, and what happens when it runs red hot. We talked about ourselves as an asset, but I wondered if you could give us the short version of that.
And in this room, an engine or a machine is a day-to-day thing, right? So think about in your factory floor or in your workplace, if there is a machine and it's running hot in the red zone, would you let that happen? I don't think so. But that's what we do with ourselves. Sometimes we are our worst allies.
I'm inspired by some of these that are coming in as well.
Yeah. This is the most fun exercise I'm looking at. Finding the balance of self-care and not taking care of my responsibilities. Yeah. You know, sometimes my coaching clients tells me, Charmin, I didn't have the time to do the breaths. Why? I was busy. You didn't have 30 seconds during the day? to take a breath? Is it because of busyness, or is it because of some limiting assumptions? A coach's job is to challenge sometimes, to stretch you, to look inside your assumptions and beliefs that getting in the way. I love challenging my clients. Mhm.
Okay.
I want to throw one thing. You don't have to answer. How will you keep yourself accountable? Usually people come to these sessions and they get all hyped up with the ideas and everything, but follow through, that's the toughest part. It's like the New Year's resolution. In January, everyone is like super excited, super hyped. In February, yeah, I'm doing it. And in March, so think about it.
Mhm.
What will make it sustainable for me? Who do I partner to keep me accountable? Maybe even today, find a buddy for yourself and keep each other accountable. Yeah.
Terrific.
And of course, please share questions while the people are playing with the Jamboard. We will, in 3 minutes, we have to close it, right? So, any other questions, comments, moments of insight?
So for those who are still a little nervous about what it might mean to meet with a coach, can you offer any last minute encouragement? First of all, besides the fact that we will not broadcast their coaching session, as Chloe was
Yes.
so brave to do, but for, engineers, we are sometimes an introverted or a very private people. Can you offer some encouragement for those who might be struggling with that as something that would hold them back from considering coaching?
Yeah, definitely. Miriam, could you stop share so that I can see the faces? Thank you. Definitely. These coaches are trained to create the trust and safety with the coachee, the client. So hands down, it will be a much different conversation than you have with any other person in your workplace. And confidentiality is we sign the agreement when we get our this coach certification. So we hold it very dearly. Anything happens in the coaching session, we are not allowed to share with anyone without your permission. Like Chloe gave us permission to share this. That's why we did it, right? So like that. So hopefully that will help. And just know that this is a rare opportunity we brought to you. I was the president in 2018. That is my pet project. And in ICF, they didn't know about this kind of thing, like go to a conference and give attendees free coaching sessions. That's what I came up with. And I built a small team, those who thought this is a good idea. And we started with one conference. And today is 2021. We have been doing it in so many conferences. And Barbara is the current director of coaching outreach. So this is my dream came true, to bring coaching to people, professionals like yourselves. So this was not always there. Some people had to really work hard to bring it to you. And this coaches charges few $100 for one session, and you are getting it for free. Think about it.
The thing I would say, if it's like on the edge of feeling uncomfortable, when I am often working with a new client, and part of that trust building process is like, you may know a lot of stuff that you want to work on. It might be really clear to you because you know what your issues are. And you can still show up and say, I don't know what I want to talk about today. And we will still gain value because I'm there to listen to you. I'm there to share my energy with you. My sign of success, hopefully it's a conversation that is different than any other type of conversation. If it was just an interesting conversation, hopefully we could go have coffee, or at least a Zoom coffee, and that'd be super interesting, but it has to be paired with the, now that we know this, what will we do? That combination of insight and action is what for me makes coaching so magical. And the coach is there to guide you through that. And you can either have a whole agenda of what you'd like to talk about, or you can show up and say, I'm not quite sure how this works. And
Mhm.
either one of those is an acceptable place to start for a successful conversation.
Good point, Barbara. Yeah, many times my coaching clients come without any topic ready-made, and then we start talking, and then something happens.
Mhm.
It's a magic. One of my clients said it's musical jam. Those musicians creates that music right together. That's what his definition after my first session with him. And I don't do me. I did music like when I was little, but I didn't realize this will be a jam. Okay, with that, looks like we came to the time that we need to pass the baton to Miriam. So Miriam, Amy, Chloe, and everyone else, we are so honored. It's a privilege really to be with you tonight. So I hope you got some value out of it, and you are going to keep yourself accountable. You'll find a buddy to keep yourself going on the promise that you made to yourself. And happy coaching.
Thank you so much to ICF Washington. You guys, I am so excited that you were able to connect with us. And like I said, this is one of the advantages amongst the various disadvantages that we've had over COVID. Our ability to connect with you and to hear your insight and to meet your coaches is something that I think will bring immense value to us. So I again, thank you so much, Chloe, for your vulnerability and your willingness to openly share that session. Thank you so much for doing that. I feel like that gave us really good insight into what that looks like. And also as women in construction, and as a tie-in to Real Talk Tuesday that we did yesterday, like what an honest insight into what it looks like to be a young female in the industry today. So I applaud you for sharing that. I applaud your efforts for bringing diversity and bringing inclusivity and bringing our whole selves forward in our industry. So to all three of you, thank you again. For all of you who are here today, I hope that you also experience that inspiration to come to our careers tomorrow a little bit more of ourselves than we maybe showed up with today. So thank you so much for being here. I am thrilled with how today came out, and I'm so glad I was able to share with all of you. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to Miriam.
I'm gonna double up on what Amy said with even more thank you. Thank you for giving your time and your knowledge and your experiences. And before we go into some more fun stuff, I want to take a group picture. So if whoever is comfortable with turning your camera on, please do so in the next minute or two. Get the hair done. You know what it is.
Loosen up.
No, my only question is, anybody know how to do it in a grid format on the screen? Because I just have you guys in the line.
So
Oh,
on the
go
top
for
right
it.
corner on the view, change to gallery view.
Awesome. Thank you for coaching me through that, Sharman.
It could be
Okay.
useful sometimes.
I'll be there for you.
All right, everybody. 1, 2, 3. And we're gonna take another one. Let me just close this. Perfect. And then close that. 1, 2. Taking a few more, just in case anybody blinks. Okay. Now I'm gonna share my screen. So Charmin, Barbara, and Chloe just gave you guys a lot of knowledge to take home. I'm going to be giving you guys some books to take home.
Hey.
So our first one is going to be a book recommended by Chloe. It's called Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg. And I'm going to be spinning the wheel. If you're not here Too bad, so sad. I'm sorry. Jenny Grayburn. Amy, can you do a quick check for me? Is she here?
No.
Nope. No, Jenny.
Another shot to win.
Not thumbs down on Jenny, just Jenny's not here.
Abby?
Abby's here.
Yes.
Abby's here?
Abby's here.
Hey, congrats.
Congratulations.
I didn't see her pop up, but she's definitely here. I see her name currently as a participant. So Abby, congratulations.
She might have stepped away, but she's gonna get an email that tells her she won a book while she was in the bathroom or something. All right, next book is Charmin's recommendation called Designing Your Life by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans. So Mary De La Rosa?
No.
No, Mary.
Another try.
Abby has commented she is here. Her mic's not working.
Okay.
Juliet is not here.
Oh.
You guys gotta be here for these books. Oh, damn.
Yeah, same person. Lucky Mary.
Yeah, bingo style spinner.
Camille?
No, Camille.
Janine?
No, Janine.
I thought I saw someone with this last name.
Yeah, I'm here. Jay Oliver.
Oh, Jay Oliver. I'm so sorry, Jay Oliver. I typed your first
That's
name.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for speaking up. Totally would have been overlooked.
Yes.
Yes, I apologize. My efficiency sometimes runs ahead of me.
She
All right.
advocated for you herself. So congrats.
Our
Yes.
third and final book is Barbara's recommendation, Happier by Telben Shahar.
Yes.
Also a fantastic book. All of these are fantastic books.
I don't know if it's Alicia or Alexa.
I checked first and last name. I didn't find either one. Thank you. Thank you, Jay Oliver, for teaching me my fault.
Oh, sorry. I mean, one book per person.
Although you should buy a lotto ticket still.
Jessica Landon.
Nope.
Oof.
You gotta
In my
hang out to the
defense-
very end. Did we tell people we were giving them away at the end? You gotta hold
No, we
out.
did not. Andrea Jimenez.
No.
Hmm.
But to
That's
be
good to be
fair, for a lot of us in construction, our day does start at like 4:30 or 5 in the morning. So this is like midnight for you people who don't have to get up that early. Yes, Karina is here.
Karina?
Yay.
Got a confirmation from Amy.
Yep, Karina's here. I don't know what she has.
Congratulations.
Yes, she's
In the
she's
chat box.
confirmed
Yep,
her
she's here. Hey
chat.
girl, hey. Okay, I'm going to go back to the presentation. Let me just present my screen. So that wraps up our event. Huge thank you to our speakers, huge thank you to our committee. Definitely could not have been done without them. Everyone's hard work definitely is making this week go a lot smoother than it would have been had we not put in the time. And also huge thank you to our sponsors. We were so grateful to have so many. We were able to do a lot of things with that kind of support. So huge thank you to them. And huge thank you to everybody who came today. Hope you guys had fun. And that's going to wrap up today's event. If you guys have questions, Charmin and Barbara and Chloe are also here, but this does wrap up our event. So if you guys need to go because you wake up at 5 a.m., totally understandable. That's the field we're in.
We gave our LinkedIn links, LinkedIn connections. So please feel free to follow up on LinkedIn. And good night, everyone.
Looking forward to tomorrow. So tomorrow's going to be all about Bluebeam. If you haven't signed up yet, you still have time to sign up until noon tomorrow.
And don't forget to sign up for the coaching. Is it tonight? Is the end date?
As long as you sign up before Saturday, I would love to be able to start making the matches tomorrow. But if you still have some doubts, I will still be taking names.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe we can, I can hang out for questions. Should we pause the recording now?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Let me first stop sharing.